In the first episode of this series, Marriage Rites in Africa, we explored marriages in the three major ethnic groups of Nigeria, the Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba ethnic group. We also established the fact that marriage is a legally binding union between a husband and a wife. Also, marriage in these African settings are considered legal if only the cultural rights and requirements are met by both parties. In this particular episode, we explore marriage rights in two great kingdoms in the southern region of Nigeria, the Kalabari Kingdom and the Benin Kingdom. In the Benin culture, marriages are held in high regard. The first step in taking a Benin bride is to seek the consent and approval of the bride's family. It is advised not to go without a gift. The man embarks on this quest with a family member and maybe a close friend. If the first visit is successful, a date for the official introduction ceremony will be set. Before the selected date arrives, both families investigate each other for some fact-checking. On the day of the introduction ceremony, the groom and his family arrives at the bride's family house. They are then ushered into the ogwa, the family living room, and both families sit opposite each other. The man's family states the purpose of their coming through the family's spokesperson. The lady is then invited into the ogwa to identify her suitor, and she will be asked if she accepts his proposal. If she accepts this proposal, a stage is set for the consummation of their intended marriage. This is according to the laws and custom of the Benin Kingdom. A list of dowry requirements for the traditional marriage is handed over to the suitor. During the marriage ceremony, a few members of the family known as the elite squad will stay in the ogwa for the dowry payments negotiations and discussions. The bride is then summoned into the ogwa and asked for the second time if she accepts this marriage proposal. If she agrees the second time, the dowry and gifts by the groom's family will be accepted by the bride's family. At this point, the bride returns to dress in her full Benin attire. Then comes the Ibiagwa and the Iyomo rites, which takes place simultaneously. During the Ibiagwa rites, a delegate from the groom's family is led into a room to pay some money to the older youth of the bride's family as settlement for protecting her until the day of her marriage. While during the Iyomo rites, a delegation of women are led into the bride's mother's room, where the women of the bride's family will be settled. During the next stage, which is usually fun and dramatic, two maidens are ushered in to act as the bride, and the groom turns them down after unveiling them to discover that they are not his bride.
Hey, here come the business. Is this your baby? No. Okay.
The bride will then be presented in her okukun hairdo, led by a married female member of the family. Some imaginary barricades must be cleared during the bride's journey to the ogwa. This is done by calling some members of the groom's family to clear these barricades by presenting money. This happens 3 to 4 times. Then the bride stands before her father, who calls the groom to unveil her and identify that she is his right bride. The groom is then asked to kneel down while his father places his hands on his shoulders. The bride's father then says to the groom's father that he is handing his daughter to him to take proper care of her. The groom then sits next to his father or anyone who plays the role of his father. The bride's father then places her on the laps of the groom's father 7 times. After which the groom's father then places the bride on the groom's lap and their union is sealed. The bride and groom feed each other with sugar, honey and bitter cola. This signifies that marriage is both sweet and bitter, but they must have the patience to sustain it. For the Kalabari Kingdom, or the Eleme Kalabari in the Ijaw ethnic group of Nigeria, marriages come in three forms: the Iya, Igwa, and the Wari Biobisome. The Iya marriage ceremony is the most expensive form of marriage in Kalabari, and the marriage ceremony cannot be complete without the baby fair, which means buying the mouth. The Igwa marriage ceremony is a simpler and more affordable marriage in the Kalabari Kingdom. The downside to the Igwa marriage is that the bride and her children will have fewer rights in her husband's house. For instance, when she dies, she will be buried in her father's house. The Warrior Biobisome marriage ceremony involves the marriage of two people in the same house, but they are not related by blood. So the first step in a Kalabari marriage is seeking consent and an informal introduction called Rare or Gigabulu, which means to knock. The groom and his parents go for an informal introduction with 4 bottles of gin. The groom's family is given a list of the bride price items after negotiations. The list contains items like tobacco, 20 liters of gin, money for the bride's parents and bridesmaids, canoe and fishing nets. Sometimes this is replaced with money, lantern, money for her waist and other items. The bride price is called hibiti, and if the man is not from the bride's village, he pays much more. When the marriage requirements are met by the groom and arrangements finalized, the traditional marriage day comes. This is called Uguni Kamen, which means entertainment of the strangers. This must be done on a Saturday. The couple are adorned in beautiful, colorful attires and beaded hats and sticks. Different dishes are displayed on a table during the traditional marriage. This must be done with the traditional dish of Tomina Fulo. This is a delicacy of fresh seafood soup, cocoyam and onunu. Onunu is a local delicacy of pounded boiled plantains and yam with palm oil. The ceremony pauses shortly for the bride's family to check out the items for the bride price. After this, the wedding ceremony continues. The Iya form of marriage takes place at night. At night, the bride goes to her husband's residence, and in the morning, her family comes to dress and inspect the bed for evidence of the bride's purity, which is a source of pride for her family. This is where the Kalabari marriage rite comes to an end.